Hello, my name's Hunter Babbitt, and I'd like to welcome you to my HSET 460 case study project presentation here. So, for my project, I chose a piece of equipment that I had the opportunity to work on this summer, which was a John Deere 3400 telehandler. This is not the exact unit before you that you see right here. This is just some images of Google. I do have some images of it later on, but these were telehandlers that John Deere produced from 2000 to 2006. The 3400 ran from 2000 to 2003. There was also the 3200 and the 3600. They came over from Germany. They were built over in their factory over there. I got the name of it right there, however you want to pronounce that. They came with the 4045 turbocharged diesel little PowerTech engine from John Deere, made about 100 horse. They were pretty powerful for being not a very big machine, which made them kind of ideal for a lot of dairy farms and everything. They were pretty big over in Europe, pretty popular. Mostly because at the time John Deere had bought out a company called Matbro out of the UK, and was actually took most of their design and everything and just put a John Deere cab on it and a John Deere engine, and redesigned the transmission and all the hydraulics in it. And then they started selling them out of their plant there. It has a 4-speed synchro mesh manual trans in it. Gets it up to being able to do 22 mile an hour top speed, which makes it nice going between field to field if you're picking up big bales or whatever it may be. It really makes it nice. Then after the 3400, they switched to the 3415s and the 3420s and ran those out until 2006, when they discontinued the line due to a lack of global demand for them. So you don't really see a whole lot of these around. You see them occasionally, but they only ran them for 6 years. They're more of a big European thing than they are here. Yet a lot of people still use them. You see a lot of skid steers being used, or still loader tractors. The telehandler's not super big on the farms around here yet, anyway. So as for the hydraulics on this, it's got a constant flow pump with a lifting capacity 3.3 tons. That is with the boom all the way in. The boom extends out to 24 foot in length. So it's flowing at 28 gallons per minute at 3,400 psi. And as you can see in the picture, this is actually underneath the boom. That is the rear boom cylinder right there at the top of the picture, you can see. And that is the transmission pump and all that's coming out of there. The pump is actually pulled back. It's in the very front of the picture. And that is the transmission mount, and so that'd be the bell housing and torque converter housing that mounts up to the engine just past those lines and everything right there. Let's see. So the one I worked on, this is the gem, and boy was she a gem. Yeah, she was something else. There's the serial number for you, Z03400XZ01032. Yeah, as you can see, she's been beat pretty hard. Real rough. This actually, the front right engine mount, as you can't quite see it in this picture, but that was actually completely snapped off on this unit, and the engine was probably sitting about 2 to 3 inches further down than it should have been. So it's definitely been abused hard. The hood is currently bungee corded down. Hood's removed off this. This is a little bit further in the teardown, but I actually had to tear the engine out of this one to be able to get to the failure here. But MC Farms, John McCracken owns MC Farms. They're dairy farmers out of Carson City. Like any dairy farmer in this world, not a whole lot of money to go around, so they keep throwing money into this thing. We've done quite a bit of work to it. This failure, as well as we just did a head on it not too long ago, and injectors and four-wheel drive went out of it a few. Let's see, it's been a few months now, but the four-wheel drive went out of it. But can't buy a new one for the price of putting money into it. This one actually has. Well, when I seen it this summer, it had 15,750 some hours. I'm not sure exactly. The interior is absolutely trashed in it. The joystick partially works to extend the boom. They've actually put a little toggle switch on the side now instead of using the actual joystick. So, pretty pieced together unit there. So the complaint that we had with this, my boss Brandon actually went out on a service call to look at this, and he right off the invoice here, it says service call to customer farm to check out John Deere loader that won't move. Found no trans pressure suspect, pump failure in trans system. So had no forward reverse added in it at all, but it would run, and you could run all the hydraulic functions. You'd have steer, brakes, you could do whatever the heck you wanted with the boom. It all worked. It just didn't move forward or backwards. So as I just read in the invoice, the suspect is the pump failure in the transmission system. Had no charge pressure or no trans pressure in it, and as you can see, the failed component is this pump right here that does sit in the right behind the torque converter. Actually, torque converter drives this. There's the inner gear there has broken apart and wasn't doing a whole lot for it. It was just kind of hanging out, and there was some metal shavings throughout the screens and the filters. So what caused this? Well, this machine has 15,000 some hours on it, and turns out this is actually kind of a little bit of a known problem with these in the John Deeres. They have been known to go out in several occasions. See, there's a picture of some of the shavings that were in the area right next to the pump when I pulled it out. Really kind of, this thing gets used and abused. I mean, doesn't have a pretty life, and slamming it between forward and reverse all the time takes wear and tear, not just on the motors themselves, but also the pump. And the motors have been replaced in this unit before. I think twice now, if I remember. So the pump finally had failed on it, and just due to the abuse that this thing gets daily. I mean, it runs daily. It feeds cows daily. I mean, it's definitely pushed to its limits. Really should be sent down the road. I don't think any of the tires in it hold any air anymore, so it's pretty beat, and it's time for it to go down the road. But again, can't buy a new one for this price. So the correction. Well, we gotta put a new pump in it, and turns out, when you're a dairy farmer and you're cheap on the money, buying brand new parts isn't always the option. So John Deere wants $3,000 just for that tiny little piece of metal, but boy, is it ever important. We actually found one through Allstate Ag. Whatever your personal opinions may be about Allstate ag. I have mine, but they had a slightly used one for $1,400, I believe, shipped to us. So the customer opted to go with the cheaper of the two, and I was able to install it and put the engine back in and fire it up, and lo and behold, we had some movement in this old girl. So here's the service report. These are just what we do. We use Intuit QuickBooks for ours, so there's no, I should say, formal type up. We actually don't do that. We just use the drop down menus and select what we did, so it's kind of hard to see. You can see the service calls on there and service call mileage, and then there's the actual service: clean the machine, diagnose, remove and install the hydraulic pump, and remove and install the air filters there, and then all the different parts that are on it: piston cooling nozzles, oil pump, all the freight and brackets, O-rings, coolant, hydraulic oil, whatever else may need, wire ends, hose clamps, nuts, whatever was used on the machine. So in closing here, we actually do have a service advisor available to us. I forgot to mention, we do have service advisor available to us, so we were actually able to go right down through. I don't have the current login because I'm not on the computer, but I do have, we do use that, so I was able to go right down through John Deere's technical data and figure out what to test and where to test. For example, disconnecting the rear cooler suction line and putting a 5-gallon pail by it and testing the amount of flow that comes out of it. And when I tested it, I had zero flow coming out of it, which confirmed the problem of the pump failure for the transmission. So hopefully you enjoyed this presentation. Thanks for taking the time to watch it. Hope everyone has a great winter break. Thank you. Goodbye.